This is One on One. We are pleased to welcome, for the first time, Linsey Davis, ABC News correspondent and the author of a compelling book called The World is Awake, a celebration of everyday blessings. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me here.
How much you love what you do, both as a journalist and as an author?
I feel blessed that I get to tell stories every day. You know, that's what I consider myself, a storyteller. So I don't really make much of a delineation between whether I'm doing broadcast TV or my first children's book. I just like to talk to people, I like to write, and I like to tell stories.
Let's talk about your book. Inspired in part by a conversation, or at least a question asked, by your son, Aiden.
Yes, so he was just a little more than 2 years old. I was shocked.
4 now?
He's 4 now. We were driving along in the car, and he just out of nowhere says, "Mommy, does God open up the flowers?" And I was really pleasantly surprised by, one, his curiosity about God, and then two, his ability to make this connection between God and nature. And so this was my attempt to kind of answer that question, not only for him, but for other young kids, for toddlers who are just trying to, you know, kind of explore and get a sense of, because there are a lot of questions about, you know, God and nature and the world around them and everything that they're seeing. It's for the first time. And so life is still very new to them. And that's another thing, you know, when I was first reading books to him, you know, from newborn every night, I was thinking, you know, maybe I'm going to write a children's book, but I wasn't really sure.
Oh, you did think about it?
I was thinking about it, but I didn't know what I was going to write about. And so then I kind of just, it was just kind of in the back of my mind. But then when he asked this question, I thought, there it is. And he really kind of planted the seed then. And ever since then, I just have been thinking about being a parent and having this young person who has given me these renewed eyes. Because I think as adults, we just get jaded. We kind of have these blinders on and we just go through life, right? And you stop seeing the rainbows and paying attention to the sunset and the bunny rabbits and getting excited by these things. And so when you have that little person kind of tugging at your shirt, holding onto your hand, saying, "Mommy, Mommy, look at this," then after a while, it's contagious, right? And so the adult,
Sure.
I start saying to Aiden, "Hey, buddy, look at that," you know? And so it's really been fun for me to kind of just get excited about life and really pay attention to the everyday blessings.
You know, Linsey, since you're interesting, we were talking about children. Our daughter is turning 8 in the fall of 2018, Olivia, and she's constantly asking questions, clearly the ones I don't know the answers to.
We never know.
but they do make you think. And so if you were to say, I hate asking this, but I always like to do it this way.
Sure.
If you were to say what the primary message, dare I say, the theme of this book is, how would you concisely describe it?
I would say it is to celebrate the everyday blessings. It is to pay attention, to look and be aware. You know, people often talk about there's a difference between listening and hearing, right? And so I think that that's what it is. We see these things, but really pay attention to them. And, you know, as you're talking about, you know, with your daughter, my son would ask me questions a lot of times about God. And so, you know, I'd say, well, he'd say, "Well, where is he?" And I said, "Well, he's all around us. You know, he's in the sky." I'd say, "Yes, he's in the sky." So then, you know, fast forward a few weeks, we're about to get on an airplane. He says, "We're going to go in the sky. We're going to see God." You know, and so I think that they have all these questions, as you said, that we don't really know the answers to. And so this was my way of kind of just trying to say, you know, children are able to relate to the tangible things. And so, you know, of course, we have a lot of books about, you know, Joseph, Jonah and the whale, and Daniel in the lion's den, and David and Goliath, and all that
Classics.
kind of stuff. Right, but I think that children, they're too young at a certain point to really kind of understand, say in this particular case, like God, you know, and so what's God's hand in those particular stories? But this was a way of meeting children where they are to say, look at the butterfly, look at the bumblebee, look at the rainbow. These are all the creations around you, and let's appreciate it.
Sorry for interrupting. It's not clearly just for kids, it's for us as well.
No, I think that what I have discovered as, you know, a parent, and we're the readers up until a certain point, right? Now at this point, I guess your daughter, she can read to you.
Yeah.
But until we get there, you want to be kind of entertained by the books too. And you know, I'm always, so I work for ABC, which is owned by Disney, and so we go and watch a lot of those movies. And I always find that there are those kind of two themes, right? There's the one messaging for the young kids that are watching the cartoons, and then there's the kind of loftier message that the adults can kind of pick up. And I hope that that's the case in this book. At least that's what I was trying to do. In that parents who are reading the books to kids, they're going to remember, yeah, I used to pay attention to these things. blessings. It's a reminder. Let's look with those renewed eyes that our kids have.
You know, some of the classics, they have value. Let's just say they're not particularly diverse in terms of the characters in those books. You made sure that happened.
Well, you know, as a mother of an African-American son, we certainly have all the diverse books of, you know, as far as children's faces and animals and letters and numbers and that kind of a thing. But it is important at a certain point for our children to find themselves in books, because if they stop finding themselves in books, they're going to stop looking to books to find themselves. And so initially I was looking and not really finding a lot of diversity in the books, and I was just thinking kind of like anecdotally at first, like, boy, there aren't a lot of these books out there. So then I kind of put my reporter hat back on and did a little bit of research and found out that more than 90% of the protagonists in children's books are white.
That's right.
And meanwhile, if you look at the Census Bureau statistics, that's not reflective of our children. You know, half of the kids in this country are not white. And so there was an essay that I found that I think says it so well. And it was called Mirrors, Windows, and Sliding Glass Doors.
Mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors.
Yes. And so the concept is pretty simple, that you need to have mirrors in children's books so that kids are able to see a reflection of themselves in the book. Windows, so they're able to peer into perhaps an unfamiliar world. And then if those windows are really effective, then they're able to become sliding glass doors and transport them then into that world. And so it's so important. You know, a lot of people say, okay, well, you know, if you have brown kids, then it's important to see brown children. If you have white children, then it's important to have for them to see white children in the book. And that's so not true. We don't need to limit it there. People, children especially, need to see diversity at an early age, especially as our world is becoming more colorful, and we need to be more about inclusivity. So it's people will say often that, you know, kids don't see color, and that is not true.
No, it is not. How they see it is different.
Right. They don't assign a value to color. And that, I think, is what people are trying to say. That's right. But if you start them at an early age and they're just noticing all the variety, right? then they're not going to be so surprised. And so, because often it's what we don't know that we are fearful of or find as different, right? And so that's what was also important to me, you know, having a 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old, that he just feels like, oh, okay, there's one of this, there's one of that, and we're all just kids.
No biggie.
Right.
Can I promote the book?
Let's do it.
The World is Awake, a celebration of everyday blessings, written by Linsey Davis. And by the way, illustrated by Lucy Fleming. Thank you so much for your work at ABC to represent our profession so well, and also for this book.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
And you're a Jersey girl.
Jersey, born and raised, Morristown, New Jersey, South Jersey.
You didn't say Morristown, right?
That's right, Morristown with an E, right by Philadelphia.
Thanks so much. We'll be right back, right after this. Thanks.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Summit Medical Group, Rowan University, New Jersey Sharing Network, the law firm of Gibbons PC, TD Bank, Suez, and by Kessler Foundation. Promotional support provided by Commerce Magazine and by Observer New Jersey Politics. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.